Hello. So last night I watched the last two episodes of season one of Wishbone, and I'm only really going to talk about the first of those because the season finale of season one was a highlights reel, which was fun, and I have a few things to say about it, but not a ton. The first one, Russian to the Bone, was based on, and I'm going to just make sure I get everything right, a play called The Inspector General by a Russian Ukrainian dramatist called Nikolai Gogol. And I have not read the play, uh, and but I did. Oh yeah, I definitely remember seeing the episode, um, and I even remember some lines. It's so weird. Now this is the 39th, and then the next one 40th. So that's 40 episodes of Wishbone. I for years only really had memories of maybe 10, and in each one, I have seen one or two little things, if not the whole thing, that reminded me. Oh yes, I actually have seen this before. So it's very weird, but again, very long ago. So the story of the play is that as a group of Russian noble people, high-ranking people, but seemingly corrupt, apparently corrupt, and they expect a visit from an inspector general, someone who actually won't tolerate their corruption. And the inspector general will be incognito. He'll be disguised as a regular person so that he can inspect. And some foppish sort of guy called Klestakov. Khlestakov. I'm going to call him Klestakov, but it's possibly more interesting pronunciation than Klestakov. He arrives and is taken to be the Inspector General, and he is showered with positive treatment, and they suck up to him, and a mother and daughter both flirt with him, and I think that throughout he's pretty sure that they're making a mistake. He just doesn't know how serious the mistake is, and he has, I guess, a kind of a servant called this is the Wishbone character, Ossip. The servant is called Ossip, and Ossip feels very strongly that there's something wrong. And I guess since it's more fun to, I guess the dog has played the eccentric character in a couple of these, but I guess it's more interesting to see him play the detective-like character, sneaking around, making connections, really observing like the person watching the show. So Wishbone is our way into the show. So that, I guess, has to be taken into account with casting him in these various adaptations, and it is very amusing. The Wishbone's world activities involve Wishbone. Apparently, Joe entered him in a contest to become the spokesdog for some, I forget the name of the dog food, but the spokesdog, the character is Mr. McPooch. And it's a Scottish Terrier in the logo at the beginning of the show, but then when they're filming the commercial, it's Wishbone in a kilt. I would think that they would have stuck with Scottish Terriers for Mr. McPooch, but whatever. Then Wishbone wouldn't qualify unless he was a Scottish Terrier, and he's a Jack Russell Terrier. At least they stayed within the Terrier family. And it's about celebrity and treating people differently because you see them as more important for whatever reason, and the lesson is not to. So it opens with Ellen and Wanda, women of a certain age, fawning over some old Teen Beat-esque magazines from when they were teens, with the picture of Davy Jones. I believe Davy Jones, let me just look him up to make sure. I believe he was in the Monkees. I know he was on the Brady Bunch and in a very Brady movie. musician, best known as a member of the Monkees. I used to have a Monkees CD. I don't know where it went. I wish I still had it. Um, and so that kind of gives us our first glimpse of being obsessed with celebrity. Wishbone goes into audition and you know acts like he knows what's going on in a way that a dog wouldn't. He doesn't have to, Joe doesn't have to put his arm out like this or whatever to get Wishbone to do tricks. Wishbone just hears what the director's saying. Can your dog this? Is your dog this? And Wishbone does the things. Nobody seems to think it's weird that Wishbone seems to understand what's going on. But then that's the world of this. That's the world we're in this show. The Wishbone exists, and therefore it makes sense that Wishbone exists. Wishbone gets the part, and people start, Joe, Ellen, they start calling him McPooch, and Wishbone kind of starts to feel bad about, no, I'm Wishbone. Call me Wishbone. Why are you calling me McPooch? It's just a job. And, but it's sweet the way that, but I think that there is something to that. I'm not a dog person. I don't have a dog. But I've heard that there is something to that where, like if you adopt a dog, it's best to keep that dog's name and not change the dog's name because they're used to being called one thing. So there might be something to Wishbone being bothered by being called by a different name, but I'm not a dog person, so I don't know for sure. The director's a little slimy. I wrote that down. And there's a fun line, what kind of a dog wants to wear a costume? Wishbone says that because they arrive to shoot the commercial, the dog food commercial, and they say, we got to get him into costume and makeup, and he says, what kind of dog wants to wear a costume? Which is funny coming from Wishbone. And they start filming the show, and here's the best part. I definitely didn't remember this, and I kind of thought, as it was happening, I thought, no, it's going to be somebody else, because I remembered, as we were going through, I remembered that one of the issues was Mr. McPooch has a voice in the commercials, and Wishbone can't really talk to them, so somebody's going to do the voice for Mr. McPooch. And as it was approaching, I was thinking, is it going to be Larry Brantley? Is he going to appear on screen? No, they wouldn't do that because it bothers Wishbone, so it can't sound like him. And it was him. It was Larry Brantley as Larry Brinkley, just walking up to a microphone, reading his script, and doing a Scottish voice that you can just tell it's the same guy who's complaining that, who is that voice? That's not me. It's the same person doing both voices, and it's a nicely meta moment, and it's just nice to see his face. And so again, the director's pretty slimy. Wishbone is uncomfortable wearing the kilt. Keeps saying, "I'm wearing a dress. I don't want to wear a dress." With all these problems, and Joe comes to Wishbone's defense and says, he just doesn't. We need to make him more comfortable and stuff. And the director says, no, he's my dog now, and he's going to do what he's going to do, and he's going to stay until the job's done. And Joe, of course, no, he's not your dog. He's my dog, and we're going to leave because this is not a good environment. You obviously don't care about the dog. It leaves one with the sense of, well, I hope the owner of the next dog that gets sucked into this is just as caring. In the play, ultimately, the identity is found out as well. I will probably read this play one day. I don't know when. Neither the play nor the playwright have been on my radar, and I have far-reaching radar, so I don't know if I will, but it's a great episode. And so the next one, just a few things. The premise is Wanda leaves a dog that she is dog-sitting for somebody else. It's got this dog, Penny. It's one of those, it's got kind of floppy ears, floppy hair, a little bigger than Wishbone. But a dog that, whereas Wishbone, a Jack Russell Terrier, male or female, kind of reads as what we see as male, this is a dog that reads as female for whatever reason, especially back then. But the dog is introduced as Penny. It's somebody else's dog, somebody at the Historical Society, I guess, and then they asked Wanda to watch her, and Wanda's been getting warmer towards dogs, but Wanda can't take the dog to wherever she's going with Joe and Ellen, and so she leaves the dog, Penny, with Wishbone at the Talbot's house, and Wishbone starts telling Penny stories from Tom Sawyer, from African American folk tales, from Don Quixote, Pride and Prejudice, The Odyssey, Ivanhoe, Frankenstein, and Joan of Arc. And I wrote down, is this the first appearance of a cat in an episode of Wishbone? I don't know. It's just something I wrote down. And and Oliver Twist is the last one. And it made me think that possibly the reason that I think that I've seen that I recognize things in episodes that I didn't otherwise recognize is because I saw this episode with all of these clips, and because I definitely remembered parts of this episode. And then, so I watched, say, the Pride and Prejudice episode where I don't remember, well, I kind of remember the rumor thing, but I don't remember the dance. But that might be but I saw this episode, I saw my clearest memory from Pride and Prejudice episode is Wishbone doing the country dance with Elizabeth Bennet, and that's the clip that they play. So it just got me thinking. But then this didn't include clips from episodes. Pretty much every one of these episodes I was sure that I'd seen. So that it might be just a bad example. But then at the very end of the episode, Penny thanks Wishbone for telling her all the stories. She hasn't spoken for the entire thing, and then I wasn't looking at the screen, but it seemed that she winked, or she didn't wink, but the kind of little special effect star appeared in one of her eyes, suggesting a wink. So I guess maybe she did wink, but it's the first time a dog has responded to Wishbone, and Wishbone is shocked, which makes one wonder, does Wishbone think that he's the only dog with the power of thought and understanding the world? Makes you think. So that's it for season 1, and the next 2 episodes are The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. And I don't know if I saw these. It's again, going into season 2, I don't know. I'm looking at the list. One of them in particular, The Moonstone, is based on a Wilkie Collins novel, and I really like Wilkie Collins. And when I found that out, I thought, did I ever see that episode? I have less memory. Let me just look quickly through the episodes. Yes, I don't have memories of any of these episodes except Sleepy Hollow, but I might have looked up, around the time that I read this book, and we love The Legend of Sleepy Hollow in this apartment, and we went to Sleepy Hollow 2 Octobers ago now. We were going to go back more regularly, but the pandemic got in the way. But we definitely looked this episode of Wishbone up because I would occasionally, especially when I finished reading a book, share episodes of Wishbone with the supernatural malevolent force, the malevolent supernatural force that I live with. So anyway, that is that for that. The Legend of Sleepy Hollow is next, and then supposedly untrodden territory, but we'll see if it turns out that I've trodden it after all. Let's swag another tale.